Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome. This is Whistlekick Martial Arts Radio, episode 411. And today, we're doing a live Q&A on Facebook. This is a video episode, but of course, because Facebook's weird, unless they've changed something, you have to do video vertically. So we're doing this video vertically. So if you are watching it later on YouTube or something, you're going to see it vertically, and that might bother you, but tough. If you are listening to it in the audio-only feed, well, maybe you want to check it out on YouTube. We're going to have it live on Facebook, but we're actually not going to leave it up there. So what's the goal today? The goal is to answer some of your questions about anything. We're calling, kind of that Reddit-style AMA, Ask Me Anything. I'm sitting outside on my porch. They're deciding to grade the road. I live on a dirt road, so you might hear some noise there. But let's get into it. Ask me some questions. Those of you that are starting to pop on, feel free, ask me a question, ask me anything at all. We'll answer it here. I'm going to do my best to keep the conversation going. And if we end up with too many questions, I'll save some of them for the next time that we do a live Q&A. So, things that I can let you know about that I left out of the first part of the intro. Don't forget, you can check out all of our episodes at whistlekickmartialartsradio.com. You can find everything we do at whistlekick.com. And if you use the code podcast15, you can save 15%. There's a butterfly. 15% on anything that we've got going on over there. We are constantly working on new projects. In fact, there are at least two new things that we have in production right now. Who knows when they'll be ready to go? I don't know. Maybe they won't ever even see the light of day. There are plenty of things that we test out and they don't work, so we don't bring them live to you. I've been doing a lot of Q&A, a lot of live stuff with First Cup. If you're not checking out First Cup, we do that every weekday, 6:30 a.m. Eastern on YouTube. And so I'm really enjoying doing that question and answer style thing. It's really easy for me to prep for. There's not much that I have to do. And so that's why we're kind of going to this. What honestly happened, I had a Q&A planned for a few weeks from now, but hello, John. For those of you jumping in now, go ahead, ask me questions. Let's get some conversation going. Let's turn this into some fun. But last night I had an episode scheduled that was going to be a Thursday episode with a guest. And unfortunately, Comcast decided yesterday to just not work at my house. And so we are rescheduling, hopefully for next week. But that means that I need to get a Thursday episode going. And so what made the most sense to rearrange some things. And let's get some live stuff going on. So those of you joining me on Facebook now, please ask me some questions. Let's get some stuff going here. I'm going to try not to be too distracted by what's going on around me. But no promises, because I love where I live. So summer here in Vermont is utterly amazing. Last time we tried doing one of these on Facebook, people were asking questions and they were showing up in the chat, but I couldn't see them at the time. So hopefully we're not having that happening now. It looks like they've got 5 of you watching. Please, those of you watching, ask me some questions. We got to do something with this. Otherwise, I'm going to have to find another way to fill this Thursday episode that's coming up. I've got to get this done today. I'm going to give you guys about another 60 seconds, and then I'm going to have to move on to try to make episode 411 something else. Or maybe I'll answer my own questions. I've done that before. I have questions. I can ask myself questions. Oh, here we go. We got a question. Thanks, John. Many times we talk about the integration of the mind, body, and spirit. It turns out to be mostly mind and body. Any thoughts on how to better introduce the spirit? Yeah, the tough thing about incorporating spiritual practices into martial arts is that for a lot of people, anything spiritual means religion. And of course, to most people who understand, martial arts is not religion. But the last thing that instructors want is to scare people away by incorporating things that might make them think religion is a core tenet of martial arts. I've even heard some martial arts instructors talk about how people have come to class and been unwilling to bow because they see that as a religious action. Spirituality can mean a lot of different things to a lot of people. And I think the best way to incorporate spirituality in martial arts in the class setting is to give people the space to let it be whatever it means for them. And the easiest way to do that is meditation. If you sit and you meditate before class, after class, maybe even sections of class, maybe even an entire class once in a while, you give people the opportunity to think about, to work through whatever it is that is important to them. If you have someone who is a devout Christian, they can use that time to pray. If you have someone who is a complete atheist, they can work through some of the things from the day and let go of stuff. I love meditation before training. I think it's an utterly wonderful, wonderful way to start class, to give people the space, the time to let go of everything that happened before class and to be present, to focus on their training. And of course, you can do the same thing at the end of class to kind of come back out of your training and give some space for the rest of the world again. That's my best recommendation on incorporating spirituality into martial arts training. So what else you guys got for me? Ask me another question. You may have noticed when I flipped the camera that the grass is a bit long. And that's because it's been really wet and the landscaper hasn't been able to get here. He's been really busy. And admittedly, I'm kind of far down the list because I've told him, as long as it gets cut once in a while, that's all I really care about. I mean, right now I'm looking at what most people call weeds. Oh, another good question, John. Any thoughts on the void or Tao? Admittedly, not something I'm terribly experienced with. I've read the Tao of Pooh and the Day of Piglet, but it's been a while. I was a philosophy major in college, and one of the things that was tough about that was just the general academic practice of reading. Read, memorize, write, regurgitate onto a test. And I don't do a whole lot of reading now. I'm doing better than I used to, and I spend more time reading in audio form than I spend more time, consuming audiobooks than I do reading paper books. But I'm slowly getting better because I do enjoy reading. I enjoy learning. So I'm going to freely admit I can't speak intelligently to the concepts of Tao. What are some questions that I've had lately? Because I get a lot of people ask me questions in email. Lately, I've been trying to direct them to agree to come on the show so we can talk about those questions, in more of a discussion forum. Because I assume if some people have a question, more people will have that question. They just haven't asked it. So what are some of the questions that I've had lately? Some of the questions I've had lately have been around weapons and weapons training. And what was that question? How to start weapons training. I think the easiest way to start weapons training, as I've shared with this person, was to pick up a stick. A single stick, not a bow, not a full-length staff. I'm trying to demonstrate on camera, but I can't show you. Not a full-length staff, but, maybe a 16 to 20-inch stick, maybe something more of the Filipino martial art tradition. Good morning, Brian. And the advantage there is you only have to worry about one hand. And there's some great video out there that you can use to start. Certainly you're not going to become an expert, but one of the nice things about training with something like a stick is that there are only so many ways you can hold on to a stick. You can hold it. Do I have a stick handy? This is a moisture probe that I use for testing the flower beds and seeing if they need water. I can hold a stick like this, or I can hold a stick like this. That's really the only two ways I can hold a stick. I can hold a stick like this, but that would be dumb, threading it through my fingers. So you don't have to worry so much about grip. If you can hold onto the stick and it doesn't fall, you're probably holding it right. And then there are only so many ways I can swing it. I can swing it in front of me in various angles, and I can poke, and I can post. So that's my suggestion. If you're new to weapons, start with a stick. Hit a tree. That'll teach you a lot. Good place to start. So John's following up on his Tao comment. Tao might be a good idea for a podcast or a section of a podcast. Thank you for all you and your team do. I agree. Now that you're bringing it up, it's something that I am aware of as being a gap. So maybe what we can do, I'm suspecting Leslie is going to listen to this at some point. Leslie, of course, helps out with sourcing guests and everything. So Leslie, maybe you can find somebody who is an author on the subject of Tao that we can get on the show. We can talk about it. That would be fantastic. Let's do that. I would love to get one more question in here. Hey, Brian, you're watching. Brian, ask me a question that I can answer about martial arts. I don't know if you guys can hear the birds, but there's something absolutely wonderful about this time of day. What is it now? It's 10 a.m. It's still, it's not quite hot yet. It's about 70 degrees. The sun is shining, barely a cloud in the sky. Birds are chirping. I have a really hard time leaving my home in the summer because it's just such a wonderful place to be. And there are a lot of other wonderful places, but earlier in June, when I flew down to Florida, to Tampa, to be with the Superfoot Joe Louis crew, it was 95 degrees down there. As much as I love all those guys and gals, I love those people, to leave my home at one of the most beautiful times of year, to travel to some place that is so hot you have to stay inside all the time, that's tough. I have a hard time with that. Final question for today will be food. I talk a lot about food. I write a lot about food. Oh, here comes the grater. Things are going to get loud. What do I eat before and after training? So before I train, whether it's weightlifting or running or CrossFit or martial arts, I don't eat much. In fact, I try not to have eaten for 3 hours. It takes about 3 hours to get the food to, kind of pass through my stomach. And I find that I have far more energy. If you don't know, digestion takes a tremendous amount of energy from the body. And I prefer to save that energy for my training. Now, when I am done with training, I try to make sure I get some water, some electrolytes. I try not to eat for 30 to 60 minutes. That's what seems to do best for my body. And I do make sure I get some food, some protein, a little bit of carbohydrate. Most martial arts training is in the evening, so I don't eat too much before I go to bed. If I have a longer training where it's permitted to drink water or something during, I stay simple, water, a little bit of electrolytes, maybe some amino acids, and I just keep it simple. I spend a lot of time testing. I'll test new products, new amounts, new ratios, new combinations to see what works best for me. It's about experimentation. I think that's the point of training, martial arts training or any kind of training, figuring out what works best for you. So there we go. We'll call that good. Episode 411 coming to a close. Go over to whistlekickmartialartsradio.com. Check out everything we've got going. Whistlekick.com for all of our products. Podcast 15 gets you 15% off. And remember, this was a video episode. So if you want to watch me, I'm wearing a Whistlekick hat and a unrelated martial arts shirt, unrelated non-martial arts shirt. You can head on over to YouTube. So I'm going to go finish this up, and those of you that asked questions and watched, thanks. We might start doing more of these, so stay tuned. Take care. Peace.